Today we're going to talk about the digitization of learning content. And really this topic sort of frames the course. It's a framework for the course. And it's about changes that are upon us in the learning space. It's interesting. I've been working in this space for quite a long time. One of the original papers that I wrote on this topic was written in 2001, titled Impact of Screen Capture-Based Instruction on Student Comprehension of Computer-Aided Design Software Principles, and we had developed a experiment where we did screen captures and used them with students to help them retain and remember information about computer-aided design. It was quite successful, and that paper's been cited a few times as sort of a historical piece, I guess. But the interesting thing about these types of technologies and about the digitization of learning content is that we can now have these asynchronous learning experiences or these on-demand learning experiences. And we can plan for things. We can plan for how we can plan learning interventions for how our memory works and how we retain information so that students can or learners can revisit lessons to reinforce their memory. They can go back and play things over again. It fundamentally changes the way we deliver content and has some significant benefits for learning. Most of us now have experienced this using step-by-step tutorials from YouTube or Instructables. Instructables here on the left on how to do concrete castings. They'll walk you through each of these steps. Cooking, it has step-by-steps. As a matter of fact, today I'm going to be baking a chicken, and my wife sent me a link to a basic step-by-step on that. So it's very common now to do this. So we're moving away from sort of this industrial model, sort of this linear model of instruction to more of an organic model. And that's a significant shift. And the other shift, which is still on the way, is, and we're going to discuss in this class and introduce in this class, is analytics as an assessment tool and the revolution that brings to learning. And that's all predicated on the digitization of learning content. So based on these principles, we've been doing things at Colorado State University. One of the things we developed was this tutoring at Colorado State University website. You can visit it at their tutoring.colorado.state.edu. You can log in with your EID, and this is just it's essentially a social network where students can go in and post tutorials. They can tag them based on taxonomy of courses at CSU so that they're easier to find. And they can share digital learning content through this particular website. They can also go and find campus tutoring, private tutoring, and basically this just leverages this concept of distribution and utilization of digital learning content to expand learning within a more traditional academic setting like CSU. So whenever we talk about digital content, we have to talk about the significant change and exponential change in the amount of information that we have to contend with. It takes about 2 hours for 270 brand new books to be introduced into the world. This is just books, just bound books, and content in that format. It doesn't have anything to do with web content, newspapers. These are just brand new bound books. That's approximately 3,000 books that are published each day, over 1 million books a year, and we have to figure out a way to contend with this. We have to figure out a way to cull through this information and to find the information that's going to help us as learners. So that's one of the things we want to address in this class, is how we use the power of networks to help us cull through all this digital information. In addition, we're changing jobs more frequently. So we're going to be shifting, people are going to be shifting workplaces, changing jobs, having different responsibilities. We have to find ways to continuously update our skills and our knowledge. They estimate that graduates today will have between 10 to 14 jobs or job places by their 35th birthday. What does this mean to educators? What does it mean to learners? We need to continuously learn, and we can't be falling back on traditional training, can't be falling back on traditional education to do that. It's just not efficient enough. Adding more evidence to the need to continuously update our skills, there's new fields emerging, nanotechnology, nursing informatics, where nurses are combining information technology skills, creating new occupations by combining these and adding new skills to their portfolio, creating new highly paid positions. In addition, I like to talk about this particular digital space, which is an actually occupational space, which is Second Life. Some of you may be familiar with Second Life. It's a digital environment where you can get an avatar, can develop that avatar, you can buy islands, you can develop islands into different living places, business places that different corporations have storefronts, for example, within Second Life. People actually make a living in Second Life because there's an entire economy. The digitization of content and learning content changes the landscape about which we learn. Here in this slide, you can see a lecture hall, essentially, where there's a teacher or a professor up in front. The teacher can project their PowerPoint onto the screen, and they can actually be lecturing to a group of students that can be distributed across the world. The students can come in with their avatar, they sit down on a bench, view the screen through their avatar's vision, through their eyes, and watch the professor lecture on a particular subject. Over the last decade, we've been experiencing a significant change in the way content is created, the way it's distributed, spaces in which we can interact. So these are interesting times, and we need to rethink how we structure teaching and learning. So the traditional approach to teaching and learning is similar to what you see here on the left, where you have what I call the big A standing at the front of the lecture hall, discussing a topic, and everybody else is not interacting or interacting very little. And then you move to more of a networked approach to learning, where everybody is equal, even the instructor in that space, and they're sharing content through that network. Anyone can now publish information on the web. We all know this. It requires less skill through Web 2.0 technologies, such as blogs, wikis, these types of things. We can publish. And this is changing all sorts of professions. We've seen what has happened to news organizations. It's significantly changed the way news is reported. So the web is increasingly less about places and static content, and it is more about action. And it's well suited for this concept of social learning and distributed learning or networked learning or connectivism, which is a theory we'll talk about in a subsequent lecture. So part of this class is about publishing and connecting to learn. Part of this class is about creating a network amongst the learners in the class in order to share information, distribute digital content and information about learning and training in a digital space using principles of technology-enhanced learning. So we're going to look at theory related to that. Connectivism is one theory that we'll take a look at. And we'll think about how digital content reshapes the learning space. The way we're going to do that is we're going to use a blog. We'll introduce blogging next week and get started on creating that network. I have found in my teaching over the course of time, students are less tolerant of this concept of the big A, the lecturer, the all-knowing lecturer standing up and talking. They become more frustrated. They want this more networked approach to learning. They know that the content is out there in digital form. They know that they can learn that way, and they're really looking for a reconfiguration of the learning space. So this is part of what this class is about, is how do we enhance learning through technology. Next, what I'd like you to do is to watch a TED Talk. It's Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk. It's in our Canvas module, Module 2, under Presentations, Readings, and More. You can watch it there. What I'd like you to do is just watch it through the whole way. Think about what he's discussing in relation to human potential, and then reflect on what we've talked about today, where digital content can be utilized to sort of get away from the traditional model of education and move towards a more networked approach or organic approach to education. So what I'd like you to do is just watch the video, reflect on it, and then what I'll do is I'll open up a discussion prompt next week where you can go in and start having a discussion about this particular video and the content that I presented here today.